It is an honor and a blessing to welcome back to our Bima, Aya Giladi, who is one of our Shinshiniot for the year. If you do not know Aya, first of all, do yourself a favor and get to know Aya. She is truly a bracha, she is truly a blessing to our community. We have 4 Shinshiniot this year who have spent their entire year teaching not just our students, not just our children, but also our entire community, willingly leaving their homes in Israel to bring Israel to us. And I think that is an incredibly beautiful sacrifice and a meaningful one. And we have been so lucky to have you and so honored that you have been part of our Shaarey Zedek family. So Aya is going to, before we read the words of Avinu She-bashamayim, the prayer for the state of Israel, for Medinat Yisrael, I'll invite Aya to come share some words.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom. As some of you heard, a big earthquake happened in the Middle East around the end of February. It came all the way to Israel, and everybody felt it. They felt the uncertainty. They felt the ground shaking beneath their feet and had a flash of worrying about their security, without knowing how big the damage will be. They got the panicking text messages from the neighborhood's group chat, making sure that it was over and everyone was okay. Unfortunately, it's not just the earthquakes that caused this reaction in Israel. Terrorism is on the rise, with attacks on civilians and soldiers occurring with alarming frequency. There was recently an attack at the Shuafat checkpoint, resulting in the death of Sergeant Asil Suid, a 22-year-old border guard from the village of Husseiniya. He left behind his parents and 6 siblings. In addition, Jewish settlers have attacked an Arab village, burning homes and cars. Our land is literally and metaphorically shaking. Everything feels uncertain and unstable. I am scared and concerned about what the future holds. As someone who will be completing my Shnat Shirut, my year of service this summer, and will return to Israel to begin my mandatory army service, I am less optimistic than I was when I arrived in Michigan last August, but trying to see sparks of optimism to keep me hopeful. I know, like all countries, Israel is complicated and imperfect, and there are days when I feel powerless, and unlike the politicians, I feel like a citizen without a voice. But then I see my fellow Israeli citizens performing moral and inspirational actions that helps decrease my fears despite its complexities. I am sure that you heard, a few weeks ago, 2 Israeli brothers were brutally murdered by Palestinian terrorists in the village of Huwara. Their names were Halil and Yagil Yaniv. Halil was 22 years old and just finished his army service. Yagil was just about to join the army. Siblings that were on their way to their yeshiva, just ordinary Israelis. In response to their murders, dozens of Israeli settlers rioted in Hawara. They attacked Palestinians and set their cars and houses on fire. A 37-year-old Palestinian man, Sameh Aktash, was killed, and 4 other Palestinians was seriously injured. The IDF arrived to help evacuate Palestinian families. This behavior is not the Israel I wish to represent or for it to become. Yet many, many Israelis were horrified by the actions of these rioters, and some felt inspired to do something to let our Palestinian neighbors know that we condemn such actions. A Jewish man who identifies as right-wing, immediately after this incident, started a fundraising project to support the Palestinian village of Huwara. In less than 72 hours, Throughout his online campaign, 11,634 Israeli citizens raised over 1.7 million shekels to help this village rebuild and assist those that were victimized. This is one example. Other are the protests over the proposed judicial reforms, where hundreds of thousands of Israelis are demonstrating each week throughout the entire state in organized marches and protests. It is inspiring. People go out. Ordinary Israelis from all walks of life, secular and religious, left-wing and right-wing, young and old, go out to demonstrate and make sure their voices are heard. It seems that what I want, what so many of my fellow citizens want, is simple and achievable. We want peace. We want a democratic country that gives us the basic human rights that we deserve. We want to be able to live peacefully in our own country and feel safe. We want to live in harmony with all of its citizens, no matter what they believe in. I am here, a representative of State of Israel, and I'm raising my own voice. The first time that I spoke here in Shaarey Zedek in September, I told all of you that Israel is not just my home, but your homeland too. It is the emotional and spiritual home of all Jews, no matter where you live. And I believe we all have a responsibility as a part of Am Yisrael to help Medinat Israel, the state of Israel, in any way that we can. Because Israel is our collective homeland, I pray that each of you continues to support it in any way that you can and in any way that creates the special and meaningful connection that each of you hopefully has with Israel. Thank you.
We wish a yasher koach to Aya for her beautiful words this morning. Thank you, Aya, and thank you for reminding us that sometimes the words that are the ones we see the most frequently and the loudest words are words of hate and anger and tension, but the words that we need, the words that are constantly should be on our hearts and on our lips are the words of peace and of tikva, of hope. And thank you again for being words of tikva for us and for our community. We are honored and blessed to have you. I'll invite the congregation to please rise now as we continue with those words of peace, with those words of hope. As we are on the top of page 149, a prayer for the state of Israel, Avinu She-bashamayim, as Aya leads us.
אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו. הגן עליה בעברך חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. ושלח אורך ועמיתך לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך. חזק את ידי מגני ארץ קודשנו, והנחילם אלוהינו ישועה, ועטרת ניצחון תעטרם. ונתת שלום בארץ, ושמחת עולם ליושביה, ונאמר אמן.
Amen. Yasher koach, Aya.